Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about Republicans getting the D.C. story wrong again. So, we're going to start off with a question that does a good job of giving the who, what, when, where, and why of the developing news. And then from there, we're going to dive into the answer, because it's an important lesson to learn about developing events. Okay, so here's the message. Quote, Belle, I've watched the channel since you were arguing about a birthday cake from off screen. So I know that even though you forego slick graphics and go for a low production vibe, you've got some of the best sources of any independent channel. I'm not surprised anymore when what seems like a throwaway line turns out to be fact. But in your video talking about the DC attack, you listed all the wrong narratives the right wing pushed. It was the Dems. It was Biden's asylum policy's fault. And then finally, it was Afghans in general. Then you said they still don't have the story right, but didn't expand on that. It was an out-of-place line. Now I'm reading the news, and the suspect is a guy linked to a CIA operation in Afghanistan, who is just a textbook case of PTSD. And even the Trump administration is admitting it wasn't a vetting issue. I know you can't really say, but how did you know this was going to end up being the story? Okay, so just a quick fill-in on some details. There are records of mental health issues going back as far as early 2023. It's also being suggested that at least one of the main stressors was the death of one of his colleagues from the CIA-backed program after he was denied asylum. After all of the rhetoric about too many people being granted asylum, it looks like it might have been a denial that served as at least part of the catalyst. There's also information about financial stress, and there's a lot more information that will come out. And this is still subject to change. But it's looking more and more like a PTSD case. Okay, so the core question. How did we know this was going to end up being the story? We didn't. We knew of his links at the time and might have known about the death of his colleague, but we didn't know about the years of mental health challenges. We knew the narrative was wrong because any narrative that creates a simplistic good demographic versus bad demographic in the immediate aftermath of a dynamic politically charged event is always wrong. It's just a way to manipulate the American public. With the information currently available, the talking points in D.C. should be something like expanding mental health access for asylees who fought for U.S. forces. We know Americans need it when we come back from war, and that's returning home. Did we really think foreign-born fighters who then get the added stress of an evacuation before being transplanted to the U.S. don't? But nobody in D.C. is going to want to talk about that because it would be called soft on crime. And frankly, that's way more complicated and harder than scaring middle America with some foreign menace. We knew the narrative was wrong because it was too tidy and too perfectly tailored to fit preconceived biases. Because of that, the underlying issue won't be addressed. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.